Hi there, everyone. This is Darren from SimNation. I wanted to follow up on the last season Zero to Hero uh, challenge that I kind of undertook, as well as talk about this year's. Um, so, for those who don't remember, probably 2, 3 seasons previous, I had done a Zero to Hero where I took Texas Tech and just show you Texas Tech real quick. And Texas Tech was a mess. They had historically done really, really bad. If we look at their history, it may not show it because sometimes it doesn't transfer all that well. But um, I took over Texas Tech in 2053. They were 0-12 the previous season. I chose them intentionally because they were at the time one of the worst teams in the league. Um, in in that Zero to Hero challenge, I told myself I would take them over right before training camp. I would be given one season to do a full season of recruiting and also kind of uh, mold the team into what I wanted. And then in the next season, I needed to make the playoffs. So as you can see, they were 0-12 the season before I took them. They were 4-9, made a bowl. I still don't like the fact that they made a bowl. They were 4-8. There's no reason why they should have been to one, and of course they lost the bowl, which made it even worse. But I made massive cuts. I had done a video of this, and essentially anyone who wasn't going to pan out, I cut them. And I think in total I had cut close to like 50 or 60 players from the squad. Um, Come forward to 2054, I've now had a full season of recruiting underneath my belt, and I am able to take Texas Tech to a 10-4 record, get them into the playoffs. They, of course, that year made it to the conference championship game and lost. And I had another complete season and got them into the conference championship again in 2055. They won it this time, and of course, then they lost in the first round. Well, I think they did they lose in the first. It doesn't matter. They lost in the playoffs, and so I would consider that success for those conditions. I did really well with that. So the next Zero to Hero that I decided to do was with Southern Miss. In this one, I didn't give myself much leeway. I essentially said I'm taking them over on the season flip, which means that I've got to do all my cuts, and I will only have really 3 or 4 weeks of recruiting to get anybody that I feel I need before the season starts, and I'm going to try to make it to a bowl game. And the reason for that is it's unless I'm taking a decent team, Southern Miss was anything but decent, and I'll show you here in a second. Um, it just wasn't going to be an easy challenge. So as you can see, Southern Miss is probably historically the worst team in the league. So I picked them up off a 3-9 season, turned them around, took them to 7-6. I cut a lot of people, probably more than I should have. And they managed to make it to the Liberty Bowl. I had originally wanted to get them into the playoffs, but when we were doing the recruiting, I almost pretty much immediately realized that that just wasn't going to happen. I didn't land a quarterback, and the CPU really just screwed me over because it kept going after the same targets I was going for in the hopes I could get them so I could build a squad off 1 and 2 stars. In parallel to this, though, of course, I also did take on Central Michigan and kind of ran them in the same model. And so I kind of view Southern Miss as a fail. Candidly, I wanted them in the playoffs. They made it to a bowl, so I'm partially there, but generally throughout the season they sucked. And it was by rushing attack and defense. And if we go back, I can actually show you what I mean by that. That I was able to get them to make it to a bowl game. And really, it was kind of like in the last week I was able to pull it off. But as you can see, they had a really good scoring defense. They had a really good defense in total. I really won on defense. The rushing game was what was, as you can see, they were first in their conference, 16th overall, was what did it. I had no quarterback. The quarterback I was using was actually the only quarterback I left on the roster. So I tried to do something similar with Central Michigan, and I candidly took Central Michigan to screw with Stewart. Western Michigan has just been an unbridled success story. I'll show you them in a second. And I wanted to get into the MAC and see if I could mess him up. And I didn't. He still won the MAC, but he had to sweat it a little bit because Central Michigan almost beat them. They only lost by one. And generally, up until the bowl game, Central Michigan didn't lose a single game by I think more than like 7 or 8 points, including a lot of one point losses, including Western Michigan. So they were 9-4. They didn't make it to the championship game for their conference because they're in the same division that Western Michigan is. Next, I kept this team. I dumped Southern Miss for this next zero to hero because what I've learned is I can't do two teams at the same time. It's just a little bit harder to do. And I ran this the same way as I did Southern Miss. I took them over on the season flip. I only had 4 weeks to do it. And again, what killed me here was a lack of a quarterback. So the defense was really good. The rushing game was really good. They were second in the conference to Western Michigan, where Western Michigan is just a really good running team. So 9-4. I kind of view this one as more of a success than Southern Miss, but still a fail. I didn't make the playoffs, so in both cases, I failed. So for this season, I made the decision that I was going to take Colorado. Now, let me say a couple of things here. I'm taking Colorado because Colorado is now in the Big 12. We moved them into the Big 12 on the season flip. It's the same conditions of zero to hero that I had done previously. Uh, I am taking them on at the season flip. If you look at the key dates here, I am only going to have 4 weeks of recruiting to get everybody I need. So it's going to be tough, and it's even tougher because where Southern Miss and Central Michigan on the MAC and AAC, or maybe Conference USA for Southern Miss, this is the Big 12. The Big 12 is a very competitive division with lots of humans in it. It's arguably probably the strongest conference in the SNCFL. Take away Maryland from the Big 10, not the same, right? But so this is going to be a challenge, and we'll see how I do with it. I think I can get them to a bowl relatively easy. I think that getting them into the playoffs, which is 4 weeks of recruiting and how many people I'm going to cut, may be a little bit of a stretch. But if you look at the schedule, I'm pretty sure I can beat the Cajuns. I'm pretty sure I can beat Akron. I'm going to lose this game to Stewart because it's too early in the season. And unless I get a lights out quarterback, and in my mind, there's only 1 or 2 of those left in this class that aren't transfers. So I am going to go after transfers, which is different than what I've done in the past. Because I think because of Colorado's conference, I may be able to get some people. I'm not going to focus on anyone who likes security or loyalty because what I'm going to do to this team isn't going to promote security or loyalty. But I think Oklahoma's a loss. Can't This is Steve, and yeah, he's got a good team. I don't think I'm winning that one. I haven't beaten Steve with Texas Tech in a few tries, so I don't think I'm gonna beat Steve with Colorado. Kansas is Van. This will be a competitive game, but I think I can win it. Iowa State, this is Shark. That'd be a competitive game. I think I can win that one. BYU, that's Starfinder. I think I can win that one. Again, competitive game. Texas, I can beat Texas. If Kevin was still at Texas, I would probably say something different, but he's not, so thank God, which means I should be able to beat Texas. Texas Tech, that's my old team. I know how to beat them. I'm okay, though. Missouri, I should be able to beat. Baylor, I know how to beat relatively easy, and I know how to beat West Virginia. So if you think about that, I'm probably going to have 3 losses. On realistically, best case scenario, 3 losses. Probably going to be more like 4 because I'm going to drop a game somewhere that I don't intend to, or it could be 5. If I can keep it to 3 losses, I think I can make it into the playoffs. If I have 4 losses, I'm going to a bowl. So just keep that in the back of your mind as I go through this. Now, a couple conditions I'm putting on myself. I will largely, I can't cheese the system. So there's some ways to cheese the system. I know those ways. I'm not going to use them. What I am going to focus on is really trying to bring in players that I can leverage immediately. And I'm going to walk you through the process of what I'm doing. So when I recruit, I'm going to recruit the best overall athlete, regardless of position, because I need to build a strong defense. That's going to be one cornerstone that I'm going to have to operate off of. Uh, I am going to build a really strong rushing attack. I've proven with Texas Tech, Central Michigan, that with a strong rushing attack and a great defense, I give myself a better chance of making the playoffs than if I try to do a passing attack. Passing attacks take about a season or two to build. If I had had the fourth season of recruiting, I probably could find a quarterback that I could use as a trigger person for it, out of Texas Tech, with Oral Hargrove, who was the quarterback at Texas Tech, who I was able to build a good offense around. Of course, every time he got hurt, I was in trouble. So I'm really going to focus on a rushing attack and a defense. I am going to try to get a quarterback. I do know of two quarterbacks who are not transfers who are pretty good because I recruited them either at Southern Miss or Washington State. So I'm going to try to get a quarterback. If I get a quarterback, I am going to try to throw the ball. But the problem I'm going to have when I show you, when I walk through this roster, is I don't really have the tools to pull off a good passing attack. And trying to recruit for those with only 4 weeks of recruiting is going to be pretty damn hard, especially with the CPU going to probably likely do what it did to me last year, where it's going to go after the people I feel I need. So just a little background on this. I didn't choose this because of Deion. So before anyone asks me about that, this wasn't because of Deion and what he's doing at Colorado. Someone did ask me to put my opinion in. So I'm just going to tell you guys, leave Deion the fuck alone. The dude is trying to do something. Okay. Anyone who knows me well enough to knows I'm not cocky. I'm not arrogant. I don't taunt. I don't carry swagger. So I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan at heart. I'm a University of Maryland fan at heart. So I hate the Cowboys. I've always hated the Cowboys. Deion was a Cowboy. Of course, he was also a Falcon and he was also a 49er. But I will tell you that from a cornerback perspective, I truly believe that he's in a category that only maybe like two others are in. He is arguably one of the best cornerbacks who ever played the game of football. Uh, and if you dispute that, then you've got some issues of your own that you need to work through. And you can't see how good he was because you have something else going on with you. As a coach, there are things I like about Deion. There are things I don't like about Deion. But I don't wish him ill. He's not playing Maryland, so I don't have to talk bad about him, right? And probably wouldn't do that anyways. He's not recruiting against Maryland, so I'm fine there, right? And I will tell you, I have a special place in my heart for Colorado. I always have. I like Colorado. I remember the Darian Hagan years, Michael Westbrook. Wasn't a big Cordell Stewart fan, but that had to do with him being a Steeler. And I just never have been a big fan of his. And I know Stewart's probably going, you better not say you like Cordell Stewart because of what he did to Michigan. That was a hell of a pass, by the way, but I digress. So I am going to take an approach similar to Deion, though. I am going to only keep those people who I think can make it. I'm going to cut everyone else, or I'm going to move them to a new position. And I'm going to be really quick on the hook for anybody. So as I do this video, of course, Colorado lost by 7 to USC. Really good game, by the way. I recommend you watch it. I'm not going to be able to mirror what he's doing. I'm going to play probably a better defense than he has, but I'm also playing in the Big 12, whereas he's playing in the Pac 12. In the last 2 weeks, he's played arguably the two best teams in the Pac 12 in USC and Oregon. But I am going to mirror some things that he's done. I did that with Texas Tech, but largely, if you're looking for me to reference him outside of this video, I'm not going to. This is a fictitious team. He's a real coach. This is going to be fictitious players, people like Shadar Sanders, Weevil, Dylan Edwards, Travis Hunnell, all those folks, they're real. This is fake. So we'll see how I do. I'm going to dive right into my mentality and my thought process and how, if you want to try this challenge, feel free to let me know how it goes for you. But the rules of the challenge are is you have to take the team at the season flip. You have to take a team that has a prestige less than 50. And I would say that you should take a team that has a history of losing, not a history of winning. What you'll need to do once you get in there is you're going to need to think of the system you want to run. I've already kind of said that is I do want to throw the ball. I just don't think it's going to be realistic. I am going to try to see if I can get a quarterback just on the hopes and get enough speed that I can have some good fast wide receivers with hands, which when I show you my roster, I don't have that. And then I'm really going to focus on defense and running because I think that's my key to success to being able to make it to the playoffs. And the goal that I'm holding for myself for this season is if I make the playoffs, I'm successful. If I don't make the playoffs, I fail. Less of a fail would be if I make a bowl game. I think I'm going to make a bowl game relatively easy because there are at least a couple of those games on that schedule. I'm confident I can get 6 wins. I'm less confident that I can get like 9 or 10 because a lot will have to go right. So let's dive in. So the first thing with the staff is I fired everybody. And I went out and I hired Nick Peters as my head coach. Nick was the offensive coordinator at West Virginia, so I hired someone in the conference. He's not a good recruiter. That's going to hurt me. But I really hired him because I needed to have a good offensive coach. I am going to try a run first spread. I like running out of the spread. I do it at Maryland a lot, mostly just because it's a single back system. Now they have no back systems as well, but I'm going to use a single back system because I'm not going to get a quarterback who can run, and I'm not going to even try for that. But the main reason why I got him is I want to develop my offensive line. I want to develop the skill positions. This guy was good for this. Now, the key here is this: we're still on staff signing, so I could lose him, actually. Someone could swoop in and take him from me. He doesn't have the best record, but I've gotten coaches like him in the past. He's not going to be able to do preparation for me, but let's be honest, I don't ever do that anyways. He's got really good leadership, really good charisma. He's the type of coach I want. I'm going to do staff signings for the other two because I have a total budget of $7 million. I'm not going to get into that rant. That'll be for a different video. I think the budget system in the game is way overinflated. So if you're playing a realistic league, you need to lower the budgets to what's realistic. $7 million for a team is not unrealistic, by the way. But if you look at the coach salaries, these are unrealistic. Now, if I remember correctly, and someone can correct me, the salaries for the coaches scales to the budgets. Generally speaking, the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, I think, is half of whatever the head coach budget salary is. So if you go into the game and you set the max budget size to say like 7 million for the top end, the salary requirements for the coaches should scale to that. Now, in our case, I forget what the top end is, but I could look at Maryland and it would tell me. So I can't afford really any of these coordinators. I'm not going to get a decent one. I'm just going to go out and do an internal hire. Now, I'm not going to do that until the last week of staff signing. And the reason for doing that is I don't want to get someone who I view as good and then get them poached. So I'm going to wait. And I'm likely going to do some bouncing. So I've got roughly $1.5 million to play with. That's not much. Anything I go above is going to eat into my other things. I have no penalties, which is probably a bigger thing for me. As you can see here, I did try to go out and lowball somebody, and the guy politely told me to F off, which he should have. Actually, I think he signed as the head coach for a team, if I remember correctly. So we're good there. Now, when we look at by the way, someone asked me something, and before I jump off this, whenever you have a coach, and I'm not going to save this, so I can do this. So if I were to hire like this internal hire, right? If you want to promote your coach, it's right here. Now, I don't think when you're under assigned staff, you can see that. Because it's just going to show you this screen, and you can't really do anything from this screen. What you have to be is under your staff page uphill. But that's how you can promote somebody in profile, promote, negotiate, file. If you're bouncing your coach, this is where you would bounce them, is right here. Because I don't want a guy who's a power hybrid, and this guy probably isn't very good. Yeah. So, but I don't want to spend any more time on the coaching because the main thing here is I hired Nick Peters. I'm really excited about him. I think that he'll be a good coach. He likes to spread in the 3-4 hybrid. I picked him because of the type of offense and defense I'm going to run. And also, I think, if I remember correctly, I got him because I saw somebody in Idaho who I think is going to be a really good player, and I want them. So I chose a coach that had a pipeline in Idaho. I know that sounds like really strange, but it'll make sense at a later point. So the next thing is going through the roster. Now, in the past, I've just cut people that if I don't think you can make it, I'm going to get rid of you. Now, caveat, I'm not going to cut anybody until I'm through the spring game. I don't know what will happen if I cut everybody like I intend to and we do the spring game. I think if I do that, I'm going to run into some issues. So I kind of want to try to avoid it. Um, so just in general, again, Colorado is a 45 prestige team. I'm not going to compete against people for prestige. If they care about the conference, I should be in good shape because the conference has a good prestige. I'm going to focus on people who like location, who want playing time, and who like the conference prestige. Those are going to be my strengths in recruiting. Now, as I look at this staff, I went position by position. Now, I'm not going to go through it all because I've already done it. I'm going to keep all three of these quarterbacks, but not all three of these quarterbacks are going to stay as a quarterback. Like Salmons and Smith are going to move to the defense, and they are going to play defense. Don't know yet which one, probably some form of a defensive back for both of them. I'm going to keep Stapleton as a hedge bet that I don't get a quarterback. He's serviceable enough for me because the beauty of the spread is I can throw the ball short, and that's what I'm probably going to focus on. From a running back perspective, I'm not getting rid of anybody again. I am likely going to keep Finley as a running back because he's serviceable. Polk is moving the defense just because his profile is better on defense because his hands suck. And for the type of running backs I use, excuse me, um, I don't like having running backs who don't have hands. Both fullbacks are gone. I can't move them to a different position easily, and nor do I want to. Now, for some of the guards, I am keeping them, and I am going to just move them over to defense. The way I'm determining that is their tackle abilities. If they have high tackle and high strength, they will make good defensive tackles. These guys, some of these guys will Platt staying at guard, but Schultz would make a good defensive end because 63 speed, 52, and 91. That's actually a fairly decent defensive end. So I am cutting two people here. Tackle, same thing here. I'm going to cut two people here as well who just are not serviceable in any way, shape, or form to me. I'm going to keep Dodd, and I'm going to keep Hawks at tackle. They make sense for me, and then I'm just going to dump these two. Because I can't use them. Their speed isn't high. Yeah, good deal, but I already have decent enough defensive tackles. I don't need to use them. At center, again, I think I'm going to dump two here if I remember correctly. So I'm going to keep Lattimore and then Bouchard and Stewart. Again, Stewart could probably move over to defense, but that 22 tackle is not going to help me. So just going to get rid of him so I can free up some space. With the tight ends, if I remember correctly, I think I'm cutting all three of the tight ends because, again, can't use them. They're not fast. They don't have good hands. Yeah, they could block. Someone, I think, once said I could use them as an offensive line. They're too small. Wide receiver, um, I'm going to probably keep Allison at the position. I'm definitely going to keep Jay at the position. And then I'll keep Freeman at the position. Um, but then I'm going to largely get rid of everybody else. I have played with moving Allison over to the defense, and I still may do that because it's 73 hands, 89 speed, uh, 84 agility makes him a pretty good shutdown corner. But that's likely not going to happen. I'm probably going to try to keep him here, and then I'm going to get rid of. Um, I think I've decided I'm going to keep Borden, but I'm going to get rid of Lima, Rust, and Young. So all told, so far, I think that's 14 people on offense that I'm going to get rid of. And again, the decision to get rid of people was based on me not being able to move them to another position. So for others, they will move. At cornerback, if I remember correctly, I only have three of them. I'm getting rid of two of them. Cohen and Henderson can't move them anywhere. They're too slow to be a linebacker. Now, I could probably make Cohen a linebacker, but he's too small. So not going to do that. So I only have one cornerback, which is one of the reasons why I'm moving the quarterbacks and others over to the defense is because I'm going to be short there. Linebacker, again, this is another one of those stories where I'm going to get rid of a lot of people at linebacker. To me, the style of linebackers I play, it does not work for me to have someone who has a speed less than 70. Now, Needham I'll keep, and Hall I'll keep, and Needham will probably play in the middle, but I'm going to get rid of the rest. Uh, I can't really do anything with them, so they're gone. And some of you are like, well, no, wait a second, you could. It's not the style I play, so I'm basing this on how I play. So I'm going to get rid of them, so that's going to be like 5. Um, Defensive tackle, so I got some strength here, right? But I'm going to get rid of some people because I'm moving some people in. Um, so, like, for instance, Dougal, I'm going to get rid of. I'm likely going to get rid of. I think I said I would keep Newberry, and I'm going to move Newberry over to defensive end for run formations. But at the end of the day, I'm going to get rid of 3 defensive tackles. So for me, Scarborough is someone I'm going to keep. I'm going to keep Blythe, mostly again because he's got good strength. I do like Douglas' strength. It's just he's too slow for what I do. And I think that I was going to keep Newberry and Lawrence, and then I was going to get rid of the rest. Defensive end, again, right here, I'm going to definitely keep Clay because he's got the speed profile I'm looking for. Ho's gone. I think I keep Love, if I remember correctly, just because I could see some places where he would do well. I'm keeping DeHart, just again because of some places he'll do well. But I think if I remember correctly, I'm getting rid of Burger, Bernie, Ho, and I may have actually gotten rid of DeHart too, but we'll see. When I make the final cuts, I'll let you know. Free safety wise, I got rid of them both. They're too slow. I need fast free safeties, especially for the Big 12, because they're going to have to be able to play in coverage. I got rid of 3 of the strong safeties, and I just kept Taylor, again, for the same reason. Punnels, I got rid of 2 of them. I kept Turpin because he has a booming leg. He's not my typical type of punnel, but I'll live with that. And then I only got rid of 1 of the kickers. I got rid of Mills because I kind of like Washington and Dickinson. So all told is I got rid of 14 people on offense, 19 on defense, and then 3 on special teams. So that is 36 players. I graduated 17. So if you think about it, is I was already at 64 players. I got rid of 36, so that leaves me with 28 players on the roster out of 85, which means that I will have 57 scholarships. So Again, for the positions like cornerback, I'm sorry, defensive backs, defensive line, wide receiver, running, well, really wide receiver. I'm going to focus on the best overall athlete. I don't care what position they play. I'm going to go after quarterbacks with the auspice of them playing one of those positions. And I'm going to try to go after athletic quarterbacks. For offensive line, defensive line, tight end, running back, and linebacker, I am going to focus on people who can play those positions or who generally have the skills associated with those positions. Tackling matters, strength matters, blocking matters, especially when you talk about offensive line. So I am going to focus on those. Now, I did once over the people that the CPU already recruited for me, and there were a couple good players in here actually that will stay. But unfortunately, I can't pull those scholarships. Otherwise, there were at least 3 players on there that I would actually pull those scholarships off. So this is how I'm going to start zero to hero. Is I'm going to focus on a spread, a 3-4 hybrid. That's my offense and defense. I'm going to take the best players I have on the team that don't necessarily fit at the natural position, and I'm going to move them to a different position if they're fast, if they're strong, or they have good tackling. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to cut quite a few players, so 36 in total, which means that I'll have over 50 scholarships. Those cuts won't happen until after the spring game. The staff, I've already hired my coach. Hopefully he stays. And then I'm going to do internal hires, and then I'm going to build out from there, and we're going to see how this plays out. So my hope is I finish 9-3, which should get me into the playoffs. If I'm 8-4, I don't think I make it. So that's the target, is a 9-3 season in the playoffs. There's no way in hell I'm gonna win the Big 12 this year. If I was still at Texas Tech, I'd probably have a chance at it, and we'll see how this plays out. So that's kind of the zero to hero challenge. I rambled a little bit. I apologize. I'm just getting over a cold, so the medicine is kicking in now. But I will do some follow-up videos. I'm not going to do another video until after staff signing is done and we do the spring game. Well, I'll talk about recruiting. Now, I'm not going to show you the players I'm going after, because the last time I did one of these challenges in one of these videos, people watching who I was going after, and then suddenly I found competition where there shouldn't have been competition. So, thank you, and hope you have a great night. Talk to you soon.